everybody, it's Georgia Rose, and I am in the Soul Space. Welcome this evening. We're going to do a little bit of a different show tonight. We're going to talk about a spiritual journey. What is a spiritual journey? How do you get on the spiritual path? And I hope you'll call in and tell us your stories and any questions that you might have. We're also going to talk about ascension symptoms, which is what we call the things that we feel and think about and all the crazy synchronicities that happen to us when we're on a soul path or a soul journey or undergoing an awakening or an ascension. So you guys know the drill. I got to share the show. As soon as I find it, come on. We have a little bit of a delay. Okay, here we are. And I got Christine on here already. That's so cool. So we're going to talk about that. So if anybody wants to call into the show, we'll have that number up in a little bit. I hope that you have all survived Hurricane Henri. That was quite a little bit of a bump in the road for us here, mostly because of the hype beforehand, I think. Sort of like life, right? We get so caught up in things before they happen. And sometimes they don't happen. So if you guys want to call in and talk about your ascension symptoms or any of the things that you have going on, I'm just going to keep sharing the show to all my pages so you guys can catch me out there. Here we go. And I'd love to hear your stories, love to know how you guys are doing this week. And that should be that. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about ascension symptoms, but before I do that also, I want to tell you about an event I'm having. A couple of years ago, I did an event on the Great South Bay, where we live here on Long Island, under a full moon. And we had a boat full of beautiful souls and beautiful people, and we had an extraordinary evening of activations and full moon downloads and all kinds of energy on the boat. So September 22nd, just in time for a full moon in Pisces, which occurs a couple days before, and the autumn equinox, when we go from summer to fall officially. We're going to take the Eddie B out from Captree Boat Basin. And you can get tickets on my website, and also I'm going to post something tomorrow morning on Facebook. So if any of you want to join us for a beautiful night under the full moon on the Great South Bay, please look for those tickets. That's September 22nd. It's a Wednesday evening, and we're going to have some awesome, awesome times. So I want to see who else is out here tonight. Here I go. I've got Joanne. Hey, Joanne, how are you doing? Janine, Christine. Yeah, so Christine's been undergoing some trembling and tinnitus. I think that's how you say it when you have the ringing in the ears. And I want to talk about that tonight as well. The ringing in the ears oftentimes happens to us when we are being attuned or being ascended or calibrated to different frequencies. And sometimes I find with certain people who have that happening, it's a really great idea to actually listen to certain tonal music or certain tones, especially tones that help our chakras. You know, like there are Tibetan singing bowls or crystal singing bowls that we can use that are actually in tune with the chakra system. And why I say to do that is because it resonates the harmonics in our body, and it resonates the harmonics with whatever else is going on in the energy field, so that it kind of puts us back in sync. So I would, maybe experiment a little bit with that. You can even go on YouTube and listen to some music that way. Sarah had mentioned a while ago that sometimes when she goes out in sunlight, she gets very itchy. And that could also be the same thing, because don't forget, energy is light, right? So we're going to go through all those symptoms. But before we do that, a couple of things. Definitely go on and get those tickets for the 22nd. It should be up by tomorrow. But I picked this card when I was waiting for the show to begin today. I said, Spirit, I'm going to pick a card for the show and see what kind of energy I get. And I got this beautiful card that looks like a superhero, but it looks like a feminine form. And I said, wow, this is telling me that I'm going to have a great show. And I'm like a superhero tonight. So I feel really energized. And when I first walked into the studio, I was very tired. So Spirit answered my prayers. So I want to talk a little bit about how we get on a soul journey or a soul path. Lots of times, people start to want to be spiritual. They have a really good intention. And so they'll start to go into spiritual events or listen to spiritual gurus on YouTube or social media. And they'll feel like, I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm listening to all these things. Well, just because we go to a Reiki circle or suddenly are going for a lot of readings or or some kind of, sound bath or something like that doesn't mean we're on a spiritual path. The first step to being on a spiritual path is we have to step back, take a step back from our lives, maybe do some breath work and get into a habit, a devotion of doing breath work every day. That's how I actually started. I started to do yoga. And through yoga, I learned to work with my breath. And whatever symptom you're undergoing, whether it's, ringing in the ears or itchy skin or, feeling like you're going crazy or feeling numbness or tingling or electrical sensations in your body, the first place you should go to is your breath. And try and slow your breath down. Try and slow the mind down by slowing the breath down. There's something that the Navy SEALs use to actually do this. And it actually is a breath that works on the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's a 4-count breath, and they call it box breathing because each side of a 4-part box is 4 seconds. And it consists of breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, and holding the breath for 4 seconds. So it's a 4-second interval on the in and out breath, with 4 spaces on the box. And if you do that in real life, anytime throughout your day, if you feel yourself starting to get in a stressful situation, you feel a symptom of something coming on, anxiety, whatever it is, if you do that 4-part breath, just breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that immediately changes the rhythm in your body, your heart rate, and brings you down into a grounding kind of a feeling, brings you back into the embodiment of where you are in the now. And that's the second part of being on a spiritual journey. The first part is you've got to take a step back. You've got to learn to do that throughout your day as a practice. You have to learn to step back from things and just be the observer. Maybe look around. If you have a job where you're working on a computer a lot and you're on the keyboard a lot, they say take 20 seconds to just look up and focus on an object every once in a while and let that be kind of your exercise in being grounded and being in the now. So those are the two most important things and the foundation you'll find of anything else that happens to you during your spiritual journey. If you can master some kind of a breath work or some kind of a breath ritual for yourself, it doesn't have to be box breathing. It can be whatever resonates with you. That gives you a foundation during this whole spiritual journey, which lasts a lifetime, to go back to something that brings you back into the reality of the now. So breath work is hugely important if you're going to embark on any kind of spiritual awakening or journey. It gives you something to go back to when you're having those spiraling moments, right? And then being in that now, that situation of presence. And the thing about both of those two steps to the spiritual awakening is what they do is they make you open. And what happens to us when we get nervous or we start to resist or we start to interpret a symptom is we close. And that's the last thing we want to do when we're in a spiritual journey or rising into a spiritual ascension or awakening. We want to remain really open. So working with the breath, staying present, opens us to calibrate and merge and integrate and transfigure, transform, transmutate, whatever word you want to use, helps us to do all that with all our energy and all the energy that's coming in. So those are the first two things I would say. And then the third thing I would say is learn to follow your joy. Once you've mastered breath work, whether it's taking a deep breath or just stopping throughout your day to go into a rhythmic breathing, makes you more present. Now you're practicing being present in the moment. You're practicing really focusing on your surroundings. You're where your feet are all the time. Now you're able to bring in more joy because you're learning to open. And so when you bring in more joy, what that means is using the breath, using the presence, the mindfulness, to understand and observe, where do I feel good? What do I do on a daily basis in my life that makes me feel really good? And it could be the simplest thing in the world. It could be just laying on the floor with your dog. I love to eat blueberries in my cereal in the morning, and I look forward to it when my eyes open every day. I'm like, oh, I get to eat my blueberries. Really silly thing for a lot of people, but for me, eating those blueberries is a presence of mind and a mindfulness that I look really forward to every day. So follow your joy. You're open, your breath work is bringing you into presence, and you're going to follow your joy. You're going to experience life more openly. And then this brings us to two things I want to say before we start going into ascension symptoms. First of all, you don't have to believe everything I say. You don't have to believe everything Deepak Chopra says or Oprah says or anybody, you know. You just have to believe in something. And so when you're on the spiritual journey, a huge part of it, whether you're using breath work or other mindfulness techniques to bring you into a place of introspection, the most important thing is to find your truth, what you believe in, and what resonates for you. That is so important because when we're on the first beginnings of a spiritual journey, a lot of times people, you know, teachers come in, right? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. We've all heard that saying. So now you find someone who's a Reiki master and you're like, I want to do Reiki. You find someone who's a tarot reader and you're like, I want to do tarot. You find someone who's a sound healer and you go out and buy drums. But you've got to be what you are. You've got to be what's authentic to you. Maybe you start following someone who talks all about light codes and you're like, oh, this is mind-blowing. I got to learn about light codes. But maybe that's not really your thing. So wherever you're at in the journey, know that you're supposed to be there. The things that are happening to you are supposed to happen, not so you can jump in and do them like everybody else, but so that you can look at them to allow them to lead you to where you're supposed to go. That's your complete authenticity. That is so huge when you're on a spiritual journey because you're so open, you're impressionable, you have heightened sensitivity. So you're going to think everything's great. But what you really want to find is what's great for you. So I just wanted to put that out there because if you can wrap your brain around that, that's going to save you so much time on your journey. Because I had like a smorgasbord buffet where I just like was doing everything in the very beginning, and it got to be very overwhelming. And if I had just like kind of calmed down and more or less looked at everything from a perspective of my own authenticity, it probably would have gone a lot better in the beginning for me. So hopefully you'll learn from my mistake. And then as we go into, we're going to talk about all those symptoms that you guys are always having. But as we go into that, this is what you want to do. Once you have mastered, you know, a foundation, whether that's breath work or yoga, whatever brings you back to your presence, your higher self on a daily basis, meditation, whatever it is, you need something that is your foundation. Something you can always go back to that keeps you open, keeps you remaining in connection with yourself. And you've learned to follow your joy. You're getting an idea now of what you really like to do, what kind of things are really resonating with you in your real true self and your authenticity. And now you want to set your principles. And we all have principles. Usually when you're on the spiritual journey, we read a lot. You know, everyone's read the Four Agreements or The Untethered Soul or all of, you know, Gary Zukav's books or whatever. And those are great, and we intellectualize them. We need to let them drop down into our heart. But from those books, we're supposed to be able to develop our own key principles. We're not supposed to emulate everyone else's. Every single person watching this show tonight, myself included, we are all unique individuals. We all have different DNA. We all have different things that resonate in our heart. We have different thought processes. So you're not going to follow someone else's principles like they're your Bible and they're going to resonate. The whole purpose of a soul journey is to connect with yourself and connect with God. So what you take away from that is unique to you. So you're going to form your own principles. But the principles should include this. And this is the list that I've kind of derived over the last decade that's really, really important when you're on the soul journey. So I just got to go back because I want to look at our video. I want to look at some comments before I go into what the tools are on the soul journey, okay? And I got to see if anybody has any questions. Call into the show. Would love to hear from you guys. I need some connection. I don't know if I lost internet or what. Let's let this come up. Here we go. Okay, sorry, I lost you guys. All right, so let me go into my comments here. Okay. I'm doing good, Aaron. How are you? Hope you got the job. All right, so principles. Now, when I say like principles and forming principles, I don't mean like we've got to make a big list that like are our laws of life. Just our principles are our values. They're what we really hold dear to us and the way we want to create our life from these things. Principles are meant to open us and meant to make us more open in life. They're not meant to be rigid rules. So the first thing I want to say is self-reflection. When you're on the spiritual journey, you want to have time put in your schedule for self-reflection. Whether that's a bike ride, a walk in the park, getting on your Harley, water skiing, or just meditating, going to yoga, you want to have some time built into your life where you have self-reflection scheduled and you are staying in connection with yourself. Because when you're processing a lot of energies or you're undergoing a symptom like, ringing ears or strange things happening to you, if you don't connect with yourself, you could really literally go crazy. So you want to stay grounded and in connection with yourself. And what I want to say here is that openness that we have now through our spiritual practices and through just wanting so much to hear the messages for our life and learn our life purpose, that openness comes from self-reflection. Because when we're in reflection and connection with ourselves, a lot of our fear dissipates and we start to really understand and learn the mechanisms that we use in order to find what we really value. And that's the second thing, is reverence. So when we practice self-reflection, it gives us the space and the openness to bring reverence into our life. Reverence for everything, for all things. And I don't know about you guys out there, but I know for many of us on the spiritual journey, that reverence starts to come in the way it actuates in our lives is we suddenly have so much respect for everything else and all creatures great and small. And we suddenly see things with a compassion that really gives us a reverence for our whole world and all the things in the world. And the great thing about that is it starts to eliminate a lot of judgment in our life. And that's when we really know we're on the spiritual path. That's the true spiritual awakening. Not, oh, I'm going to a Reiki circle, or, oh, I'm going to learn tarot. The true spiritual awakening is when we have that time for self-reflection. We're in openness, and now we find a reverence for all of life and ourselves. That's an awakening. When we can just open that beautiful crown chakra and feel safe and secure enough to allow everyone else to have their humanness and allow ourselves to have our own humanness and then know that we're not all perfect. For many on the spiritual path, I can always tell what level of consciousness someone's in. And it's a really simple test. And what it is that there's a lot of people in the spiritual world that think they know everything. And it'll come out even just the way they speak, And I do this show not because I know everything and I want to tell you guys everything, because I don't. I do this show because I want to learn more. I do this show to connect with other people, to have guests on that I've never met before, because I want to learn and stay open and have reverence for everything. But a lot of the mistake that gets made on the spiritual journey is people start to think, oh, I know everything. I'm much higher in consciousness than they are. And that's what you really don't want to do. And the way we combat that is by staying in self-reflection and taking time to connect with ourselves and maintaining that reverence for everyone. No one's better than anyone else. No one knows more than anyone else. The spiritual journey and awakening is a lifetime. We're never done. It's a journey with no end of the road. So we're all at different levels of learning, and someone may know more about astrology than someone else, but that person may know more about Reiki, or maybe you're going to know a lot more about astrology than even I do in another year, but you're just not there yet. I have reverence for everything because I want to learn from all of you. And that's a really important part of being on the journey. Keep that reverence alive, connect with yourself, stay in the mindfulness, because that reverence is going to give you that non-judgment. It's going to keep you in that space of, okay, this person's arguing with me, but I know they're coming from a wound and I feel badly. I'm just going to send them love. I'm not going to go back at them. That's huge. That's when you know you're really starting to change your energy. And then that leads you to that mindfulness. It's a benefit to be in gratitude of all relations, whether it's with your dog or your cat or the person next door. You start to really, through that mindfulness, be grateful for everything. Because now you're a little bit slowed down, you're using your breath work, and you really can take everything in and see the beauty and the joy. Because remember, one of the steps of the spiritual awakening was finding your joy, right? So with that self-introspection and that reverence, the joy comes a lot easier. Suddenly, taking a simple bike ride or a simple walk on the beach is so beautiful, you just want to cry because you're connected. You're completely connected. And we humans are born, created, and made to connect. But we spend our whole lifetimes running around not connecting. So once we go into that connection, that's the spiritual awakening. So now let's take that a little bit further. So we're talking about symptoms that make me scared, right? Oh, I have a ringing in my ears. Oh, I get itchy when I go out in the sun. Oh, I have these horrible nightmares. I feel like there's electric shocks running through my body. I'm getting bad headaches. Well, think about everything we just said, we just talked about. It's all about bringing your life and bringing your consciousness and this whole energy field, right, to a different place. You're thinking differently than you were before. You're experiencing life differently than you were before. You're in relationship to everything differently than you were before. So what does that mean? It means that the vibration that you were is not the vibration you're at now. So it only makes sense that you're going to have all these weird symptoms as you adjust. And that's really what a awakening or a rising or an ascension is. You're rising to a different energy level. You're vibrating at a different energy level. So keep the mind quiet. When you're undergoing some really intense symptoms, you want to take time every day to be in some kind of quiet, be in some kind of connection with self, because your body's trying to calibrate that energy. So you really want to do that. Yeah, it feels like it's the first time for everything. Nature suddenly, I mean, some days I go out to the backyard and I can't believe how gorgeous the green leaves of the trees against the blue sky is. I'm like, how come no one talks about how gorgeous that contrast is every day, you know? So like that's being totally mindful and totally present and totally open to all the beauty there is in the world. I get really excited when I talk about it, so don't mind me. So yeah, the energy is pretty intense. And so just like Christine says, we're all calibrating it. And the reason why the energy is intense now is because so many people are undergoing a spiritual awakening, a spiritual rising, ascension, whatever you want to call it. Why? A few reasons. It's astrological. The planets are in places in our zodiac, in our cosmos, that they have never been before. So we don't know how to, what this energy feels like. Our Earth is in a space in the galaxy that it's never been before. So we have all that energy coming in. The Schumann resonance, which measures the vibration of the Earth, is off the charts a lot of days because we're in an actual physical place where we've never been as humans. So there's that. And then we have the environmental. The world is much larger as far as the amount of people in it. We have more density. You can't go to a supermarket now, even with a 6 feet apart ruling, and someone's not all around you. So we're picking up all of that energy. And then it's also situational. We're all still coming off COVID, pandemic. A lot of people still stay home a lot more. So that's changed their energy, because what happens when we're put in a place where we're restricted? We really don't have much to think about except being with ourselves. So a lot of people jumped on that spiritual awakening train this past year. So you put all that in a blender, and it makes for a lot of energy out in the world. And we're all picking it up. Our sensitivities are heightened once you're on the spiritual path. So, Bobby, somebody's asking, can I get a link, IP address to use for casting to TV screen? He doesn't see a link at all anywhere. So I don't know if you want to answer that in the comments. My producer, Bobby, is watching. We're actually on, we just actually got on Cablevision, too. So we'll put something in the comments on how to find us. Okay, Mark? Thank you so much for asking for that. Hey, Joanne, how are you? Joan Asher's on. So let's go through some symptoms. And if you guys are having symptoms, throw them out there so that we can address them. And I'll try and tell you exactly what it is so that maybe you guys can kind of feel better about the symptoms. And look, we're all in this together. I still get some things that freak me out a little bit too. Today, for instance, I had a day where I felt very tired physically and I felt very disconnected from the 3D world. I had to go out and run an errand. And while I was out in the world, I was like, wow, I feel really out of it and very like, almost like walking through water today. Now, I know that's partly because we just had a full moon in Aquarius. And I also know it's partly because I'm working through some past trauma in my life and healing it and working really, really, really intensely on that. And so I know that today when I started to feel out of it and disembodied, it was because that is my body processing the energy. And what does my body want to do when my consciousness is processing that? It wants to separate from it. It doesn't want to deal with it. So I start to feel a little out of it, a little bit, disoriented. And it's normal because I'm processing a lot of energy right now. So I've learned over the years to logically understand what's not logical, right? If that makes sense. So let's go through some symptoms, okay? All right. So I also, we talk a lot about ascension and awakening. But if you could just think of it, and this helped me a lot, when we think of it just as a rising, like think of something's vibrating, right? Like maybe you've been vibrating all your life like this. And now, because you're awakened, you're opening, you're looking at things from a different perspective, because you've learned to be with yourself, you're taking time for introspection, you're beginning to be reflective. And so now in that reflection, you start to see things from a different perspective. You become less judgmental, more loving, right? So we all know the vibration of love is the highest vibration there is. So as we're opening to that vibration and that awakening, what happens? Maybe our vibration, who used to be like this, is now coming in like this. And that's our vibration, our energetic footprint, because we're changing it. So we're rising. Our vibration is rising. It's becoming in a higher frequency. So then it would stand to reason that maybe you'd have ringing in your ears, or your skin would feel itchy as you adjust, or you'd have very vivid dreams. So just keep that in mind. Really what it is, and all those fancy mumbo-jumbo words, is you're simply changing your vibration to a higher level because you're bringing in more love into your life. More love and more joy. And you're releasing a lot of the old, negative, darker, slower, sluggish, pollution, whatever you want to call it. So the body's adjusting. A lot of times we'll have digestive issues during that time because we're actually physically releasing the scars and the trauma and the things that no longer serve us. So let's go through some symptoms. So I just wanted to kind of give you that metaphor because I think it helps us deal with it better if we can put it in very simple terms. And remember, applying those principles, self-reflection, mindfulness, loving kindness, as you become more open, you want to be very careful what you take in because now your energetic field is open to more love. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of chaos and a lot of negativity in your life because that's going to come in when your fields are open. You're really looking for that love. So develop your principles. What do I really want to make my main principles in my life, that when I'm alone with myself and doing my meditation or my reflection or my breath work or my introspection and being mindful, what is really the most important thing for me in my life? You want to set up those principles. What's happening is as you change your vibration is it's not only a shift in the vibration, it's also an embodiment of the vibration. So the body is trying to adjust to that vibration, not just the consciousness. And that's why we have physical symptoms. Because what's really happening is we're taking in energy from other dimensions. We're taking in energy that has the ability to give us that reflection of compassion, right? That's a very high vibration. Compassion, empathy, love is the highest vibration in the world there is. So when we start taking in more of that, our body is also going to start to vibrate higher and resonate higher. And that's why some of the physical symptoms come in. So with that in mind, let's talk about that. Intense energy. What is intense energy going to do? It's going to make us feel stress, right? We're trying to get through it. So sometimes that can feel like passing through the eye of a needle. You can feel like you're in a pressure cooker. You know, not a great feeling, but if you can realize you're feeling this way because you're getting to a higher level of existence, you're getting to a higher level of allowing more love in your life, then hopefully we can endure it, right? So just remember, when you're having those flashes of energy, you're feeling things go through your body, that really is your beliefs and coming to the surface. Because what's happening is the old stuff, the stuff that didn't vibrate at this level, the traumas, the judgments, the anger, the unforgiving part of you, it's got to shed, because it can't live in a body that's now vibrating with compassion and love and joy. So as you're shedding that, all kinds of crazy things will happen. So just remember that. The disorientation is a big symptom of that. Sometimes people will be in the car driving and something will happen and you'll look up for a few minutes and you wouldn't even know where you are. That happens to me. And I'm not senile and I don't have dementia and I'm not crazy. It's just basically because in that moment my consciousness was not fully present. We're adapting and adjusting to higher vibrations, higher realms. Unusual aches and pains. Usually this comes because we're releasing some kind of pent-up energy. You know, that kid in the schoolyard that called you an idiot when you were 5, it may be in your left hip. Seriously. Louise Hay is a great author who has quite a few books about healing the body, and she actually has a whole glossary, you can find it online, of what each ailment means. I remember a couple of years ago, I was having some issues with my professional life, and I was working for people who were very rigid, and I started to develop an elbow issue. And it was the weirdest thing, because an elbow, I was like, what the hell's wrong with my elbow? But I actually had to go to a doctor, I had my elbow drained, all this craziness, right? And when I looked it up in Louise Hay's book, elbows were a sign that you are not bending with life, and that you're being too rigid and not going with the flow, because our elbows bend, right? Think about it. If our elbow doesn't bend, we're kind of in a bad situation. So that was a very enlightening time for me, and I realized what I had to change in my life, and as soon as I did, my elbow was fine. So unusual aches and pains, kind of think about what it is. A lot of people, like I said, will have digestive issues or lower back issues. That's feeling unsupported, you know. Lower back is your support system. So if you're getting aches and pains there, you're unsupported. Legs, knees, that's usually failure to move forward in your life or something preventing you from moving forward in your life. Hands and fingers, you know, a lot of times that's not being able to touch or feel properly. Each finger actually has, if you go online to Louise Hay's information, each finger actually has a meaning, you know, and something right and left and male and female and all that. So if anybody's having any of those, I'd love to hear about it. No one's calling in tonight either. Strange. Trying to see comments. Okay. So waking up at night. This is a big one. I hear this from a lot of clients. Between 2 and 4 a.m., everybody's awake. You know, I once wrote a blog called 2 a.m. Knows All My Secrets. I literally used to get up at 2 a.m. and like start vacuuming and doing laundry because I knew I wasn't sleeping anymore. The reason that's happening is because in dream space, we're cleansing and releasing a lot of things. We're also getting information from other realms. So our dream space sometimes is extremely active. Hi, caller. You're on the Soul Space.
Hi.
Hi, Joanne.
Joanne.
Sounds like Joanne. Hey, Joanne. How are you doing? Do you have any of these symptoms?
Oh, I do, but my daughter was having her hand, like trigger finger, and her upper back.
Okay.
And I was looking up Louise Hayes. I didn't find.
Yeah,
I have to probably look at it deeper because I had a link saved and now she's not. I don't know. They switched it to something else, spiritual something.
Yeah.
So it may not even be her anymore.
Yeah, you
I'm
could.
glad
If you
you
Google it,
mentioned
you
that.
should come up with it. But I was going to say, a lot of
How do
times.
you spell her last name? Hayes?
I think so, yes. It might not
Okay.
have an S on the end. Louise Hay, I think it is. But I know each finger, and also if it's the right or the left, if it's male or female, it'll be an issue. But upper back, I want to say, that could also be support. Anything with the back is like not feeling supported in life, especially upper back and the lung area. Like, for instance, if she's having breathing difficulty or any asthma issues, that a lot of
No,
times,
not-
asthma is unshed tears. But what I was going to say is upper back, I would definitely say is still support and flexibility, because that's part of us that's very flexible. But I would
Okay.
definitely look up for Louise Hay. But it's interesting how the issues come up, and once you really start to think about them, they always have a parallel to something that's happening in our life. And many times when we have physical pain, it's because we're releasing something there. Go ahead.
Oh, they're refusing something there?
They're releasing something.
Oh, releasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like neck
So
and
stay with
shoulders.
support.
Like, yeah, because like neck and shoulders, a lot of times, especially the shoulders, is, taking on the weight of the world kind of thing.
Yeah, more upper back that she has.
Yeah.
Can you pull a card for her? Can you pull a card for her?
Yeah. Let's pull a card for her.
She's not home, but I'm just
Card
wondering.
Yeah. This card fell out, so I'm going to pull that too. Knight of Wands. Okay, so is she still away? I know you said she was away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have a feeling when she comes home, something's going to really change, because I've got Knight of Wands, which is, an action card, like really taking action with something in your life. And then I have the Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles, this is almost like, being lost in the storm and abandoned. But if you look, there's all this abundance in the window. So this to me means when she comes home, things are really going to change for her.
Okay.
Yeah. So allow her to just kind of get through this time, because there's really good stuff coming.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
But something, definitely an
Thanks.
action card, like the energy is going to move for her.
I hope.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Thanks for calling in,
Okay.
Joanne.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
So what I was going to say about like the waking at night also is a big one, because especially during that hour of 2 to 4 p.m., that is known as the vivid dream hour. Like those are the hours when we're really dreaming vividly. Hi, you're on the Soul Space. So Bobby's going to take care of that. Hi, you're on the Soul Space with Georgia Rose.
Hey, sweetie, it's me, Christine.
Oh, hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm listening, and I'm having a problem with tinnitus, so it's crazy.
I feel, and I felt like this from the beginning when you first had it. I just feel like, I know when you have tinnitus or whatever it's called, I know that when you have that, the last thing you want to do is listen to more noise. But I almost feel like you need to listen to a certain type of vibration to sync it. It's a weird kind of, I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like...
I do. Yep,
Yeah?
I do, and I've gone to soul healing, sound healing, everything. But you know what? I've learned to embrace it since the last time we've spoken about it.
Right.
It's like the worst time is at night.
Yeah,
when
I can
there's nobody
imagine.
here, and you just hear it.
Yeah.
But I've adapted to it. It's called habituation.
Uh-huh.
But I've tried everything.
Well, the one
But-
thing I want you to know, and please hear this, is I feel like so strongly that this is not permanent for you. I really feel strongly that this is temporary. And I feel like it's
I hope
something
so.
I just feel like it's something calibrating within you. And you're going to unlock
Yeah.
it. I know you're going to unlock it. I have no doubt.
I've also been vibrating also, like I'm shaking sometimes, and that might have to do with my triglycerides. I just got told that they were really high. I'm just trying everything to get better, and then once I try different things, it's like now I'm eating too many carbs. I went vegetarian. Now I'm eating too many carbs, potatoes, pasta. It's
Well,
like
I'm going to
screwing up
tell
my
you
body.
about food, okay? Like I'm no food guru at all, but I do have a pretty healthy relationship with food. And the only thing that has ever worked with me in my whole life was about 15 years ago, I went to a nutritionist. And she taught me really how to eat and how to maintain the blood sugar. There's so much information out there. Until you sit with somebody that is personally for you, it's very hard to find what works.
Right.
I
Right.
would definitely do that. And I'm not a proponent of somebody who like runs to doctors or anything, but the nutritionist really helped me and taught me like exactly how to eat. And I basically eat from the earth. Like I eat, what you're supposed to eat. But I feel like when you say that you're shaking, I feel like that's all part of the same thing. It's related to the ears. It's vibratory.
I think so too. I think everybody keeps saying I'm ascending. There's something going on. It's
You're
an energetic
definitely
shift with
rising
me.
because I feel so much angelic energy around you. And what I want to say is that angels are a very high frequency. Like when I know angels are in the room, I can kind of feel like, ee! I know that sounds weird, but that's really how they are. And so I feel like something is trying to attune you to the angelic energies, and you just haven't unlocked it yet, but you're absolutely going to.
The word that just came to me, because I'm looking at all the angels on my piano, an angelic chorus. Maybe
See?
that's what it is. The
Yeah.
angels, like my dad passing, my best friend passing, they're all together now, an angelic chorus. And
Yeah.
they're trying to tell me, take care of your body, because if you don't take care of your body, then you're not going to be here.
Absolutely, and I have to tell you that you are a very high vibratory person, and what I mean by that is that you are somebody who's very positive, you're open to all kinds of love in your life, you're not judgmental, you don't have a lot of negative energy. So your sensitivity is super heightened because you're so open to that vibration. So
I love it. I love learning. I love being open
that's
to
who you
everything.
are.
I just took a walk at Belmont.
Yeah, and
looking
that's
at
just
the ducks,
gorgeous.
the geese. Then went to the ocean, looking at the waves. I mean, I
So
was seeking
Christine,
healing.
understand the correlation between that and what we're talking about, because your super heightened sensitivity is what's causing this. So it's not a bad thing. This is just an adjustment, And once it adjusts, you may be, hearing things that are messages. You may be, which I'm sure you already do to a certain extent. I'm sure that this is definitely a recalibration of you. And if you strongly feel that they're telling you to really do something with your body, I'll give you the name of my nutritionist. Go one time. You got nothing to lose, But I
Okay,
think
sweetie.
I
Thank
really
you.
feel like that's what you need to do, because I know, especially when you're vibrating as high as you do and when you're as open as you are, it's really important for you to eat high vibrational foods. Like I grew a garden this year, and when I ate vegetables from my garden, I felt 10 times better. And it wasn't just even like, knowing it came from the garden. It was literally like the garden food I could feel the vibration of it. That I grew it with love, it had no chemicals, it was fresh sunshine, fresh water, and even just eating it, I could feel the vibration of the food.
Right.
So, and I think that's where you're
That
at.
makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that, and again, like you're going to hear that noise more at night because we're more open, our subconscious takes over. But I definitely feel like this is...
I'm hearing it now as I'm talking to you. It's really high-pitched. I mean, the highest pitch you could even think of. That's what it is.
That's angelic energy, sweetie. And I'm going to tell you, the reason why it's happening now is because you're so open. You're talking to me and you're opening about it.
Yeah. I'm glad that you say it's temporary.
Oh, absolutely. This is just an adjustment. Like I was just saying, you had a lot of things happen to you in your life in this past year that raised your vibration even more. You know?
Right.
So, and you're healing from dad and all these things, and the vibration's now recovering. So you have to understand, and this is what I want to leave you with, and this is also for a lot of people out there, and even for myself. Step out of the past, because when we compare what we are now and we think, yeah, but I used to do this, or yeah, I remember this, and in a very innocent way, not even in like we're holding on to anything, but just in an innocent way, we have to realize like we're not those people anymore because our vibration is so different. So sometimes it's even like, eating a bag of potato chips. Suddenly really hurts our body because, and we might think, I always used to eat potato chips. What the hell's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not that person anymore who used to eat the potato chips. You know, and I use that as an example. Same thing with people. You know, we go to do something and all of a sudden we can't stand the thought of doing this thing. And maybe it's something we always used to do, you know, but now we can't do it because we're not vibrating there anymore.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so I think that's a lot of that for you. So when you try and work through these issues, these, you know, impediments right now, think of it as, instead of, well, I used to enjoy this more because I didn't have the tinnitus or whatever, think of it as, when I get through this, I'm going to be even higher.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, because if I could get higher than I am now, that's paramount.
You will,
that's
because you're
wow.
open to it, Chris. You're open to it, Christine.
Oh.
So you're gonna
Thank
do
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you, honey.
Sending
Thank
you
so
all kinds of
kind.
love, sweetie. All kinds of love. I'm just gonna pull you a soul card.
Thank you, thank you.
But you know, that's also one of the symptoms of ascension is a lot of times we start doing things and they don't feel the same. You know, like that
Yeah.
was happening to me for a while. Like wherever I would go, I'd want to stay 15 minutes and leave because I just didn't feel like it used to.
Yeah, and especially now with me with dancing in the pandemic, it's like I don't want anybody around me.
Yeah.
I don't
I hear
want to
that.
go and hang and talk to people. I just want to dance, and some people think I'm not nice or whatever, but I just want to go and just be, because dancing makes me feel good. That's where I feel the best.
And that's because also that, you know, that expression, marching to a different drum. The
Yeah.
dancing is soothing for you because, in a way, by dancing, and think of it as almost like a primitive thing, you know, Indians, Egyptians, everybody primitively, cavemen even, used to do fire dances and all kinds of dances. When you're doing that, you're actually acclimating your body to the rhythm that your body's trying to find now.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's why it feels so good, because you're releasing the pent-up energy that is
Right.
holding it back. So I pulled this
Right.
beautiful card, and I think this card is very appropriate. I don't know if Bobby can get it on camera closer, but there we go. But the card, I can see like this person is still, I feel like there's something going on. I feel like they're in a little bit of challenge, but all this light around the heart and around the head, you can tell it's supposed to be that way. They are exactly where they're supposed to be, working through this challenge. And Christine, that's you.
That so resonates with me. That I'm looking at it while I'm on the phone with you. That's definitely me.
Yeah, do you see what I'm
I'm
saying?
working
Like the expression on the face knows it's in a bit of a challenge, but what I'm really seeing resonate is all the light. Look at the light in the heart chakra.
I see that.
Yeah. And then there's like a halo around the consciousness. That's where you're at.
Right.
And just accept it and know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now, leading me to something beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Georgia. Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
I love you too. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, you know, we have to remember that whatever we're undergoing, like I know Sarah just said that she had one of the worst migraines of her life. And what I'm going to say to you, you probably were releasing and shedding something, you know, shedding some energies. So after that, you know, some of your other symptoms improved. So realize, especially anything, migraines, crown chakra, I get migraines myself, and I always know I'm processing energy. I'm working through something. I'm releasing. So meditation, mindfulness is great for those kind of ailments. Seeing and hearing things, experiencing things differently. You know, you may be somebody who always went out fishing to a certain fishing place, and now you go there and you're like, this doesn't really feel, it's not doing it for me anymore, because you're not at that vibration anymore. One of the biggest ones is feeling out of body, you know, disorientation, disassociation. This is because your body, as I said before, is adjusting. The body's going through a different process. It's taking away what no longer serves us for allow for more room to things to come in. And a lot of times that can lead to a loss of identity, make us feel like we are losing the things that are valuable to us, but we're not. We're just readjusting our lives. So I don't know if anybody else has any symptom they want to talk about really quick. We got about 5 minutes left on the show. Having trouble sleeping is because in dream space, we're really, really in heightened sensitivity when we're having an awakening process. It makes us feel like we are working when we're sleeping, and then finally the body will wake up. So, Bobby, you don't have me on camera. It's okay, we're grassroots here. Hey, back everybody. Heightened sensitivity. How many of you can't stand to go into crowds anymore? You know, you used to love to go to a rock concert, and now you can't even think about doing something like that. That'll pass. It's because you're adjusting, and while you're in this heightened sensitivity that things that you used to do are barely tolerable. Sometimes you just don't feel like doing anything, and that's because your body is readjusting. It's going through a new process. In some ways, it's learning to walk all over again. What else could I talk about? Sudden disappearance of friends. This is a big one. People will fall away. And the reason why they're doing this is just like we talked about. They're falling away because your vibration is so totally different. You just don't mesh with them anymore. And they pick it up energetically. You may not have changed on the surface, but you've changed deep inside. I'm going to pick a card for Suzanne. She wants a card last minute. Emotional ups and downs, extreme fatigue some days, being really excited and full of energy another day. All just part of the process of readjusting to energy. So this card is for you, Suzanne. Okay. Suzanne, you got the Lovers card. A lot of times when the Lovers card comes up, it could just mean that you're trying to make a decision about something, and it could even be work, but some kind of a partnership. And I'm going to pick a soul card for you also, Suzanne. Oh my gosh, you're definitely trying to make a decision. This decision is going to bring you someplace amazing. Look at the light in this card. You are on a rise yourself. The angel wings all over. I feel like this is somebody that is watching over you while you're trying to make a decision. So just really go into some quiet contemplation, Suzanne, because you're going to get the answer. You just got to listen for the message, all right? And I'm going to pick a card for Monica, and then I think that's going to be our show tonight. Yeah, Sarah, I definitely think that because I had a similar experience myself, and I know when I shed energy, sometimes I'll get sick. I shed a huge energy at one time in my life, and I got so sick with the flu, and it was a spiritual flu, and that can happen. So this is for Monica. Monica, I got the Three of Swords, which is through the heart, arrow through the heart. So if something just recently happened that was very painful for you, just know there's something better coming. Because I'm going to pull a soul card for you now, but I feel like this heartbreak is, I hope nothing happened to one of your animals, because I'm seeing animals. But that heartbreak is something that you're going to wake up in a couple of days and it's not even going to be affecting you. Yeah, pray. Go into your spiritual practices, Monica, because there's comfort there for you. Take some time for self-reflection, because whatever is really bothering you or anything that maybe wounded you or something, it's not as big, it's not as important as you think it is right now. Right now, things seem really, really oversensitive, overdramatic, larger than they really are. So take some time to step away, all right? And that's pretty much going to be our show for tonight. I want to remind you guys, September 22nd, I will be on the boat with a bunch of you. So get your tickets. And if you want more information about that, we're going to be putting that up soon. And thank you so much for joining me in the Soul Space. If you'd like a private reading, whether that's a tarot card reading, an astrology chart reading, or even just a life coaching session, you can find me at zenkuda.com. You can find me on Facebook at Zenkuda by Georgia Rose. And you can find me on Instagram at Zenkuda Official. And I'm also on YouTube, where all of these videos are, along with a bunch of other stuff, even meditations and all kinds of things about living Zenkuda. So thank you so much for joining me in the Soul Space tonight, and I'm happy to help you guys through your journey and learn from you all as well. So have a great night, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye, everybody.